Here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Well, hello everybody. Starbase, we're doing a dedicated stream because I think this is warranting one where it's the historic milestone. Can we call it historic? I think we can. Of Tower 2 being topped off with Module 9. This is the final module to be installed on top of the new Tower 2. And it's happened in very fast pace. It doesn't seem that long ago until we started seeing maybe just a section roll out and the other sections arrive on barges and staging at Sanchez, and now suddenly we're going to have Tower 2 complete. From a height perspective, of course, still got the chopsticks and things to install, but this is a big milestone. As you can see, all the workers are having a big meeting right now at the base of Module 9 ahead of its lift, so we thought we'd go live and do commentary and take questions, because that's what we do here. We love Starbase, we love covering it. So, joining me, thankfully, so it's not just me talking, you don't want that, is Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hello! It is super exciting to see a new Starship launch tower take place. It's like, boy, this is gonna be the third overall, right? It's just exciting because this is like, yes, it's the third overall, but it's also, you know, the third of many more to come in the future. So it's always amazing when we hit these milestones.
Also joining us is Ryan Webber, you lucky people. Hello, Ryan.
Well, hey everyone, how's it going? I'm ready to go this morning. Got just brewed a little bit of coffee and ready to watch them finish off this tower.
Very good. So you know the routine by now. If you've got any questions, I'm sure you've got questions. You always have questions. Do out on a spaceflight in chat, followed by your question. It goes into a panel. We can't we can't ask them all out. We can't read them all out. We can't answer them all because it gets so many. But we'll try and pick out the best ones and answer them. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a super chat. I just put NASASpaceflight in chat with your question, and we'll go into our panel, and that's how we read our questions out. So that's how you do it. I think we should just summarise for people joining, going, well, this is interesting. What's that big mat of steel on the floor? What's it all doing attached to a crane? What's going on? Ryan, do you want to explain what Module 9 is?
Yeah, so Module 9 is basically the roof piece of the launch tower. It's a little bit small. Well, it's kind of like the same kind of size as the ones they've installed in the past. However, with a more powerful crane, they are able to put more stuff inside. It was kind of funny when if you go back to the one at 39A, they had put in the pulleys and other things, and then when they went to try to lift it, they realized, well, the crane can't do it. So they had to pull a bunch of stuff out. This time around, nope. They've got a better crane for it. So it's got pulleys. It's got a lot of the systems already needed installed in it. This one's also even got a walkway on the roof, unlike Pad A nearby. It doesn't have a floor on the roof of it. And it's even got railings and everything. So SpaceX has definitely kitted it out more compared to the past ones. And yeah, it's gonna be fun to see this thing finally get like reeved with cabling for this tower's chopstick setup. I don't know when that's gonna happen. That could be a while away. So
Very good. I think, Ryan, we could just turn you down a little bit. It sounds like you are literally eating a microphone. So we'll turn you down a little bit. But also, this is interesting because we have been talking before we started the stream. I was asking questions because I don't know everything, as you can imagine. And we were talking about KSC, and we're talking about the Cape. We think that the next tower they will build, we're thinking 37B maybe? What do you reckon, Alex?
Oh boy, they have plans for a couple more at the very least 2 more confirmed towers. We'll see if they actually build both or not, which one of them will be a launch and catch tower, so to speak, but then the other one will just be for catching only. So, you know, when they were building this second tower, a lot of people were like, oh, this is going to be just a catch only tower. And then, you know, we found out that SpaceX will build a catch tower, but not here at Starbase. It's going to be 1,000 miles to the northeast, essentially at the Cape at 39A. So going to be built. They have already built a launch catch tower, and then there's going to be a dedicated catch tower a little bit to the south west of that other tower, so that, you know, they are able to do all of these you know, operational launches and everything out of there. However, we have not seen any hardware for it. We have not seen any groundwork or anything because they need first the paperwork approval. And right now, both 37, because that's the other tower that I was, you know, mentioning here, that was a launch and catch tower, that there's going to be another Starship tower there at 37. But both the 39A expansion and the 37 tower, all of those are right now in environmental approvals and reviews and whatnot. So they need a little bit of time until then. However, that being said, this tower began at Florida at KSC almost 2 years ago in October 2022. It was a long time ago. We actually spotted those first sections of this tower all the way back in October 2022. So who knows? Maybe, you know, in the next coming months, we may see some of these sections, and then they store it there, completed, ready to go. And once they are ready to build that tower, then they just roll it out. They do just like this one, where they roll it out and install it there at either of those locations. I don't know which one is going to be the first, because again, you know, paperwork right now, but we'll see.
Very good. Question for Ryan. Atmo asks, do we think they will go for a different style of lightning tower on this? Well, tower, he says. So basically, what we got on the top of Tower 1 is almost like some kind of wacky radio antenna. It's like a very thin pearl with little prongs on the end. Do we think we'll go for a different style with this one on Tower 2?
Well, yeah, what's on Tower 1 is basically a weather station. So my guess is they'll put the same kind of thing on this one, because they don't really need a lightning tower down in Boca, because it rains down there, but like the amount of severe storms are nowhere near the amount, like, say, at Kennedy. That's why lightning towers are more of a thing there, which is why I'm kind of surprised they haven't put a lightning rod on top of the Starship tower there. My guess is it'll get one at some point once they hook in a lot of power or other things, but it's not really needed per se down in Boca. It just doesn't get as many like severe thunderstorms and lightning as say the Cape does.
They'll do some thanks, because it's like a wrapped side. I normally do wrapped sides. I don't normally do the dedicated live streams, but just seeing the same level of support in a dedicated live stream is crazy to me. Musical Wolves just says, launch towers can fly. Well, hopefully the rockets do the flying, the towers don't, I would say. Patrick Scott, thank you. Just as a super chat and say thank you, NSF, for the great views of this historic event. It's because people have been so supportive in our community, and I can say this as someone who started all this. This is where we've gone out and spent money on cameras and all the equipment that goes with it. It really is. We're not owned by a big company. A lot of the YouTube companies and what YouTube streamers and what have you are actually owned by companies and what have you. A lot of the sites are. I could name all the big space sites. Pretty much all of them are owned by somebody, some publishing company or some advertising company. And we're not. We have literally just done this independently, and we basically we generate revenue that we put back into what we provide you. So that's where all this comes from. So when you say thank you, we can thank yourself, because it is those people who supported us that allowed us to go do this. So thank you very much for your support, Patrick. 98 Central just gifted 5 Red Team memberships. We've got gifted memberships now. This is amazing. Booster 1058 has gifted a Red Team membership, and Telstar 86 has gifted a Red Team membership as well. So those people have provided other people in this chat right now with a gifted membership. So if you suddenly find your name gone green and you've got emojis and you can access our membership area of the YouTube channel, it's because people like the ones I've just read out have provided you a month for free of membership, which is a really cool thing the YouTube has done. One of the rare cool things YouTube has done recently, I must admit, but that is a cool thing. So I really appreciate your support, and I'm sure that anyone who's got a gifted membership, please do say thank you in chat, because that's really cool. Space Max, oh my, that's a username. Spaceman X710. That's a cool name. Where are these modules being built? So I think Alex preempted that about where they started their life in Florida. Are we going to say that all tower sections for future towers, including, will be built at Roberts Road, Alex?
They seemed at one point to have, like, some kind of trained crew to do this, because as soon as they finished the sections for the 39A tower, they immediately went and built the ones for this. And this is one of our, I think this is the first one of our Cape flyover videos that we posted, where we talked about, those chopsticks are the ones that are installed at the 39A tower. That was in October 2022. But then we saw sections for that second tower, the one that we are seeing here now being finished. And so there at the Cape, they built the first 7 modules of this tower. And then the 8th and the 9th, they were not completed. They were just left in parts, essentially, the columns and trusses and whatnot. And then once they started, moving all of the hardware to Starbase, one of the first things that they did, they moved all of those columns, the leftover parts for modules 8 and 9. And those 2 in particular were built here at Starbase at the Sanchez lot. So this one, in particular, this one that we're seeing here about to be lifted, that was built here at Starbase, but its origins, we saw the first parts of it there at the Cape, and there you can see that part of the video where we talk about, hey, we spotted new tower parts. What the heck is going on, right? Because that was one of the questions. We thought, maybe 2 towers at 39A? That's essentially that part of the video, right? We spotted more columns and things like that, so we were... there was for a long time a huge debate of, like, where's this gonna go? Is this gonna go to 39A? Maybe 49. I think that's the part where we talk about, Launch Complex 49. At one point, there was a possibility as well. It's kind of nice now knowing, of course, but 2 years ago we had no idea.
Are we getting close to a lift here? Because the workers seem to be... They've had their meeting. They've had, right, Bob, you've pulled the bolts. Michael, you're driving the crane. Steve, you've got hold of the line, Steve. Yeah, good, Steve. Thank you, Steve. And they've now dissipated. So I think the meeting's over. Where are we standing ahead of the potential lift, Ryan?
We're pretty close. I'll say they do those kind of meetings so that everyone is on the same page on how this is going to work. So no one goes where they're not supposed to. Everyone understands that this is an off-center load, because you have the piece that sticks out to the side. So this is the trickier piece to lift. It's going to be harder to place on the tower than any other section they've done so far. It's a safety and just overall, this is how we're doing it. Let's get it right kind of thing. So that's why they do those meetings, so with everyone involved. So I think a lot of guys will go up the tower there. Some of the guys dissipated will go up the tower. Guys are attached to the tag lines. Crane operator will go in and they'll get ready to lift sooner rather than later. But yeah.
I'll tell you a little story. I've mentioned this once time before, but probably not to this audience. that when I was at uni, we did temp work on a weekend to make, get some money in. And basically, a temp agency would take you around to various places in a group in a minibus and just put you in where they need workers. And there was this meeting at a potato factory in Melbourne, in East Yorkshire, where basically they said, we need 5 people to do this. We need 6 people to do it. Anyone drive a forklift? And I put my hand up, thinking that'd be a cool thing, not understanding that they're asking if anyone had a forklift license. So I put my hand up. And the next thing I know, I'm driving this 3-speed diesel forklift around this factory, and it was the best Sunday ever. It really was the most fun I've ever had working in my life, including for NSF, because I was driving this forklift diesel around, having a time of my life and getting paid for it. Don't do that, kids. They mean, have you got a license? If that guy doesn't understand the camera behind him, I'm going to start shouting through the microphone. There we go. We've got different cameras, luckily.
Probably one of the photographers down there.
Yeah, but if it's a photographer, you'd understand the camera situation. Never mind. More thanks. RC Horseman's gifted 5 2 memberships, a regular RC Horseman. Thank you very much for your support. Brianna Matthews, another regular. $20 for the day. Final set, get better, crispy. Oh no, I've got Jax as well saying, Big C, hope you're good. You sound a little sick. Now, I went to the football, American soccer, last night, and we won again, and I got excited. That's all it is. Luckily, I still have a voice, but my microphone is that good. It picks up the very little bits of deepness, and that is just me from getting very excited about how brilliant York City are looking this season. Only the English in here will understand what I mean by that. Ron Smith gifted 10 Red Team memberships. That's amazing, Ron. That's a lot of new members who joined in. In fact, this is going crazy. Boost 1058's back again. I'm sure Boost 1058 spreads it out, so I keep mentioning the name every single time, but I appreciate it. Merry Old Elf has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Ron Streams 20 has gifted become a Red Team member. Sorry, you've actually gone out and become a Red Team member yourself. Well done. And Boost 1058, as I mentioned, has back again with the Red Team membership. Paul Kelly asks, related question, will they build 4 towers? So we will ask what the 4 towers are for. Oh, it's the lightning tower question, isn't it? But yeah, 4 towers, because we've got 3 out there. We've got 2 at Starbase now. We've got 1 at 39A. Will we get the 4th one at 37B before this end of this year?
It's lifting.
Carson, go to trailer.
Yeah, I saw.
And Movac truck got in the way.
I saw the crane at the very least on one of the other views. I could do like an A/B test kind of thing, and I can see that the whole thing is going up. It's like not.
Wrong entrance, Movac. Get out of the way.
Yeah, Movac Services is thinking, right, I can get an advertisement here.
Yep, they're lifting partially.
There's a little bit of a gap there already.
Now, if I remember rightly, they do tend to lift it, but they don't go all the way. They just lift it slightly and hold for a bit. So maybe that's what we'll see this time.
They're making sure everything's good. They got the counterweights they need. The load's balanced, and there it goes up.
Slowly going up.
I'll get my Bandicam ready for the clips that I'll put onto X.
They gotta be very careful, of course, because as Ryan was mentioning, this is not an even load that they're lifting. The other tower sections were a little bit easier, I should say. So yeah, they always take care either ways, but this one
the biggest
special
difference you can see if you look at the load spreader itself. You can see what look like adapter plates on the 3 back columns, and there's not one on the forward column where it sticks out. So they specifically rigged the load spreader to adjust for the extra weight right there. So.
Very good. Yeah, I am watching as you were talking now. I was too busy engrossed in watching how much it was lifting by. It's only very small amounts at the start, obviously, so that's when we get more excited when it starts rising into the air. And it'd be a big, nice thing to get some wide shots. I'm sure Carson's well aware of that. When they actually start plonking it on top, putting it on top. Oh.
Yeah, there are.
Very good.
Like that one.
There we go. That's the one I want, because then we can get a nice little. Finally got 2 towers, and we can get Adrian excited about Lord of the Rings references.
Plenty of wide views.
Yeah, we got plenty of wide view. Carson is now showing off. Carson Flex. Oh, here we go. Look at this.
Oh. little bit of a stabilize. It's kind of interesting to watch the different companies lift these. So this is the third heavy lift company that's tried to lift a top of the tower section. First one was Fajoli, when SpaceX used to use them for their transport and lifting things. That's where the Franken crane came from. The second was Buckner, which was at 39A. And now it's Sarens that are is the lifting company for this. So three different companies all trying to figure out how to lift this thing. So it's kind of interesting to watch.
One thing that I will say though, many people will notice the U.S. flag. That is a very common thing when when you complete kind of like a big tall building or something like that. That's usually like the topping portion, right? So they usually put that U.S. flag there. I believe they did the same for the crew tower at Slick 40. So they did that for Tower 1 here at Starbase, for the 39A Starship tower, but even for the crew tower for Slick 40, they did that as well. So that is a common tradition in the US as well, for those that don't know about it.
You know what? I totally didn't notice it until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually took the opportunity to say that now, because once they lift it, it's probably going to be on the other side. It's probably going to be away from the camera, so we may not see it. But
USA. Chat beat me to it. There we go. Nothing wrong with
it's
that.
also very common when in construction sites. I actually saw that when I went to the US. All of the cranes had the US flag at the top when it was July 4th. All of the cranes, like every single place that I went to, every crane had a US flag at the top.
It's nice. I'll tell you, as a non-American, right? First time I went to America, it was Chicago, first place I went in the States. I've been to the States quite a few times, but Chicago was the first one. I went to suburbs of Chicago. I was staying with a friend, and everyone had like American flags in their yards and stuff like that. And that was just I thought that was really impressive. It really stuck with me as a memory. And I think patriotism is not a bad thing at all. So yeah, USA. While this is going up, it's going up now.
Yeah, it looks.
Here we go.
It's hard to tell if they had this thing fully balanced. It kind of looks balanced from this view, because that's why it took them so long to hook up the load spreader yesterday. Is because they were trying to figure out how to balance it. But based off all our views, it looks like they got it. Looks pretty straight and centered. So. And I guess they're happy with it because they're going up more. So that's when you've got an experienced crew who's done a lot of lifts, even off-center lifts, you usually can nail it down pretty quickly.
I wonder if we should keep taking questions, because it will. I mean, when it gets really exciting, we'll just focus on the lift, but we'll keep taking questions just to keep this going, because we do have a lot of questions. I want to get through as much as we can. Kane asks, when will orbital launch mount pieces start rising from the ground? So more what I'd say is maybe we want to start constructing the orbital launch mount, because that's something we want to see, the new design, don't we, for Tower 2? When do we think we'll start seeing clues maybe of this Tower 2 orbital launch mount system?
It could be a few months, few to several months. Right now, they're installing a bunch of. They've been installing a lot of sheet piles to keep the water out of a rectangular area next to the launch tower. They've been doing some soil mixing. It's stuff I don't fully understand. I'm not full in construction, but they've been doing like soil mixing and other things. My guess is once all that's done, they'll have an area which water won't intrude in, and they'll start digging out. They'll start digging out dirt, exposing the heads of the pilings that they drilled all in that area, and then building a foundation for what is at this rate expected to be a bi-directional flame trench that's 180 degrees offset. So, and it'd be almost be like east and west is basically where the flame trench would go.
And this is something for context, especially for new people. This is what they're going to then copy. I say copy. They're going to repeat on Tower 1, because a lot of people think once this second tower is completed, it's only a matter of time till we start seeing 2 full stacks on both towers. I think as soon as Tower 2 is in active mode, where it can receive a vehicle, that's when they start modifying, as Elon has said on the Tim Tour. They'll start modifying Tower 1. Will it be a basic copy of Tower 2 with the bi-directional flame trench, etc.?
Probably. They won't be able to do 180 degrees apart, though. Not with where the tank farm is and where other stuff is located there. It's going to have to be some kind of weird angle or something along those lines. I'm actually really curious to see how they would do a bidirectional flame trench at Pad A or even at 39A for that matter. Because if you look at the 39A pad, if you were to do the exact same design that they plan on doing at this pad, that flame trench will go right over and right towards the methane side of the tank farm, or relatively close to it. And you don't want to direct your exhaust right at your tanks. SpaceX learned that that's not the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
They did that with this pad. They did that with Pad A, and well, look, they got rid of all those tanks, and they put everything behind a wall. So, I'm kind of curious at how they would design it for those two pads. I think they want to get this one built and see how it looks, and then decide how they do it for that one. That's probably why we haven't seen them really touch 39A at all.
Yeah.
Because they're not entirely sure exactly how they want to implement this new design at that pad. So,
I'm just curious because I was looking at Google Maps. I think it won't be that big of a problem if they design it the same way that they're building the one here at the Pad B for Pad A and 39A. Precisely because for Pad A, for example, the flame of the flame trench will essentially be going where they have removed already the vertical tanks. It will go across where they have the LOX subcoolers, but they could, in theory, just relocate those to another location or something like that. But it will go, for example, to the highway, which is not good. So they could be like a berm or something like that to protect the road. There are many ways, essentially, of trying to go around these issues. And I think for 39A, it's probably going to be the same. The tank farm will be about 180 meters away. I think it's about 300 feet or so. So it's a decent distance, and if you put actually 500 feet, if you put some kind of berm or something like that, that kind of helps as well to protect the tank farms and things like that. I think it's not an impossible kind of thing to do, but we'll see.
I have to measure the current rectangle, and the other thing is we'll have to see what the design actually looks like to see if it would fit, at Pad A, because we don't even know what the final design is going to look like. It could be a slightly lowered flame trench with a slightly lowered OLM, which would help compensate for the problem of stretched vehicles, which is another question I saw someone ask. As to why they didn't make the tower taller is because, well, maybe the OLM is going to go down a little bit, and whatnot. But it's really going to be interesting to see what happens.
See people on top of the tower there right now. People are literally going to the top of the tower ready for the Module 9 to arrive. That's a heck of a sight when they're up there, by the way.
Yeah, it's just going to be a while before we see what this design is going to be, and we don't even know if the OLM is going to be one single piece that they're going to lift into place, or if they're going to build it in place at the pad. We just don't know what the new design is going to look like, so it's something to watch out for.
Very good. Yeah. So the SPMT has rolled away after hosting Module 9 during its rollout and pre-lift as well. Module 9 is now under the full control of the big crane. The people on top of the tower. That is a great view, by the way. That site there shows just how tall this tower is. I'm sure people are aware, but for context, that is a heck of a tall tower. I think we already get a good context when we go to 39A and we see the fixed service structure, the former Apollo and Shuttle tower, and I mentioned Shuttle, where you can see the Starbase tower dwarfing it. And that gives you an idea just how tall these towers are. It is hosting the world's largest, tallest, most powerful rocket ever in history. So that makes sense. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing this Module 9 being lifted. While we do that, we're going to have lots of questions. I want to go through these with some brevity so we actually get a lot of questions answered. If we can, 98 Central asks, will the new tower have an IMAX camera installed up on the tower, like Tower 1?
Maybe.
That would be awesome.
That's what we call brevity. There we go. Maybe. Yeah, we don't.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah,
what
we
they're
don't
gonna
know.
put on there. I mean, yeah, they might.
I hope. Let's put it this way. I hope so, because we've seen a lot of the. I like the highlight video SpaceX puts out after a flight of Starship. They have got some great views. I can see where they were going with some views where they see the rocket rising from the static shot on the tower, which is very much Saturn V kind of like era views of watching Saturn V with the USA going up the side of the actual camera view. I hope they do more of those kind of things. So we basically don't know, but we hope so. There's the answer to that. West the third, one of our team. One for Webby. What is the piece at the very bottom of Module 9 down at the angle?
Oh, you mean the,
yes.
diagonal beams that are being held up? Yeah, those are the cross beams that'll get installed once the base is basically installed down. So yeah, this is and looks like it's going up. They couldn't just have this installed, or I should say they couldn't have those fully installed on the on Module 9 right away, because the transporter there's enough room between that and the transporter in the ground. So they kind of had to do it this way. That's all. They're just the cross beams.
Very good. We're starting to see some raising now, very slowly, but it's going up. That's the main thing. While we're doing that, I'm going to quickly catch up with some support, because the support is amazing. I know everyone hates on streams. I'm the same on different people's streams and whatever, different subject matters. People go, super chat, super chat, super chat, super chat. It's like, no. But I tell you one thing, there's no way I'm going to ignore the support, because as mentioned at the start of the stream, we're independent. We're our own, doing everything ourselves. We're not owned by some big, massive company paying our bills. So this support really makes a difference, and what we can do and what we can advance, and the things that I can't leak, because I'm a terrible leaker about things we're doing for the future coverage, which will improve the coverage even further. So that's where the support helps us do those things. So Anonymous, that's the name. That's a great username. Gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Then also gifted a Red Team membership. Gareth Williams gifted a Red Team membership. Flippers 79, Flip Diaz. Great name. One of our regular long-term members gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Ryan, nice hat to watch every launch from the Cape. Stay awesome, and especially thank you, Ryan. I've bought something from the store. Let's click on it, see if it comes up. It's gonna merch pie the Module 9. There, he's got a cap. There we go. Very good. And Carson, move the camera. Or was it Roger? Maybe just move the camera.
It's a cap for the cap.
It's a cap for the cap. Oh my word, that works so well. Boost 1058, I told you, is back again. Cashew Forever Westy supports this. Westy, what are you up to? Some Westy and Boost 1058 shenanigans are going on there. Mr. One Wolfie gifted 5 rated memberships. Bloodhound 9. Is the tower section crooked, or did Dad forget to level the camera? The cameras were leveled yesterday. Jack went out there. Jack's not very well, bless him. I went out and made sure all our cameras are nice and level and clean. So thanks, Jack. And Mary's been an absolute trooper. Mary's been out getting all the footage and all the photographs for us. So we've got a great support team there, especially when Jack's not too well. Hopefully Jack's going to be feeling better soon. Chris W's back for the small NSF satellite fund. Oh, don't tell Harry. He wants a satellite for his own photographs. Very much so. Jack asks, any IFT5 patch leaks? Don't ask me, because I will leak it. I have seen it. It's amazing. I believe Adrian said it's going to be released for at least pre-sales, I would say, when we get the booster stack in next. We're looking for booster 12 and ship 30 to go out and get stacked, and that's when we release IFT5's patch. It is stunning. I would say it's the best one yet from Pauline. Don't ask me any too many questions. I will leak. I'm going to stop talking now because I'll leak. Questions. Josh Zero asks, do we think when Tower 2 is ready, they will dismantle the orbital launch mount and chopsticks and QD on Tower 1 and upgrade it? So the upgrades to Tower 1, Alex, will that literally result in the chopsticks being taken out? Because we know the chopsticks are too long on Tower 1. Do you think they'll change out the chopsticks?
I think it's very likely, just for the sake of upgrading. I'm not sure if I agree with you that as soon as Tower 2 is complete, and complete not in structure, but complete with everything, every single bit and everything, and like an OLM as well. I don't think we're gonna see them doing that straight away, because if you think about it, for whatever reason this second tower is disabled or whatever, they probably want a backup, and the backup for the meantime is probably going to be Tower 1. Whereas, we also have 39A and 37 and whatnot, but 39A, again, paperwork and whatnot. So yeah, there's going to be some redoing of things, the QD, the OLM, the chopsticks and whatnot, but probably once maybe 39A and other launch pads are active so that they can, launch starships at pace.
Elephant in the room question time. Are you ready for this one? Joanne M asks, why not build this tower higher than the first? So we've had lots of people thinking this tower would be like 2 sections taller than Tower 1. Because Elon said something along those effects. It is taller, but not by much. Alex, I can hear you desperately wanting to answer this one, so fire away.
Yeah, so, in very basic terms, these are essentially the same height. Now, if you want to be very, very picky, sure, this one is a little bit taller, just 1.5 meters taller. And I believe that's just down to the base being a little bit, taller. That steel and base and concrete base. It's a little bit taller, a little bit higher than the one for the first tower and the one at 39A. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, they are essentially the same height. They did redo a little bit of how the modules are, like the size of the modules. So the first 7 modules on the first 2 towers were the same size, and then section 8 and 9 were about the same size here, where it's like one single level, so to speak, right? Whereas the regular full size modules were like 3 levels, so to speak. But on the second on this second tower, or third overall, it's actually the first 6 modules are the same size, and you have to go to the 7th and 8th to see that difference, where instead of being 7 being 3 levels and 8 being 1, now it's 2 and 2. So they add up to the same height at the end of the day, but they realign a little bit there, that sort of way of that spooked us a little bit. To be fair, when we saw these portions, these sections being built, these modules being built at KSC, we actually were like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be shorter, it's gonna be like longer, like what is it gonna be like? And at the end of the day, we figured out as soon as we spotted some of the hardware. But it's nice to see, finally this tower built. Again, grand scheme of things, it's essentially the same height. No more modules. Sorry.
This is a fun question. I like this question. And Ryan, I see your back, so I'm going to give it to you as well. I will start this off because I'm a big fan of this site. Basically, Luke Anderson asks, how long do you guys reckon till we'll get a Starship tower at Vandenberg? Thanks for great coverage and keep it up. Thank you, Luke, for the nice message on the end of that question. Slick 6. I was talking about this the other day on X. Slick 6. SpaceX has not really gone big on it by announcing it, but the US Air Force as Space Launch Delta 30 officially announced that SpaceX has taken a lease of Slick 6 Vandenberg. Now, they presented it as for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, but maybe for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, but it's such a large area, it could easily be used as a Starship site for the West Coast. Ryan, 1, do they need a West Coast Starship site? 2, do you think it could host maybe a dual scenario like 39A with both Falcon 9 and Starship?
Slick 6 is big enough to do both. As far as last time I saw the footprint on Slick 6. I think it's around the size even of 39A. It's a pretty big pad area. In theory, they could. The only drawback of that is getting boosters to Slick 6. Either you ship them or you build them there. If you build them there, you need a star factory and a high bay to build them. Or do you find a way to ship them? Ships, you can obviously just land there. I mean, what? I'm trying to think of launch corridors off the top of my head. You know more about that than I do, Alex. Is like, what? It'd be really good for like polar But what else would you use Vandy for Starship?
I think there's a good chance that we see Starship launches from the West Coast, and right now the majority of the West Coast launches are Starlink, because you can reach 53 degrees, for example, and they use that for mid-inclination coverage of Starlink and everything. You can also reach 70 if you want, coverage of the polar regions and things like that, or even 96 sun synchronous and everything. So I think there's a there's a market, if you want to call it that way, right? To be able to launch from the West Coast, because it gives you another option at the end of the day. At the end of the day, like, you have Florida, you have Vandenberg, you will also have Starbase. I don't know. Like, I'm of the thinking that in the future, perhaps 2 or 3 decades down the line, there's going to be like many launch sites, not just in the US, but around the world. One can be countries.
Can I just say it is too
Point to
funny.
point.
Going through. I'm just going to talk about our back channel for a second here. Carson, who's operating the stream, goes point to point Starship from Vandy, and Chris immediately says point to point is dead.
No, Alex, but I'm gonna Ryan. Ignore that. You don't have to read out what I said. I can literally tell you what's going on with that. Point to point.
Well,
right?
I know why it's dead.
I'm a massive fan of point to point, or I was. Basically, the idea was we have meetings and about production meetings about things. We're going to do videos wise. I go, I'll write a script about point to point. We could do a video about it because I go on about it so much. So I started researching the script for point to point, and the more I researched, the more I started crying over my keyboard as I realised maybe this is not really going to work. I was like, oh no, there's lots of challenges for point to point. And by the end of the script, I was like, okay, it's dead. I've decided it. It's not going to work. So, point to point. You know what? Look, I'm just an idiot with a keyboard. SpaceX has some very talented people, and if they think it's still a viable idea, who am I to argue? And I hope it does work, because I do think it's amazing. But wow, when you get deep into the woods of researching the challenges of flying an ICBM around the world and launching it off the coast to the point that it doesn't annoy people in population centres, to the point that you have to spend so much time travelling to the damn rocket in the first place to get on it and then take that 30-minute ride around the world, it becomes quite unviable. So yeah, that's what I meant by my comment there.
Yeah, I think launching for Starlink is more economical.
Yeah.
Yeah, having multiple options is always good. Again, the majority of the launches right now from Vandenberg are essentially Starlink missions, and believe it or not, they work. So, yeah.
We're still going to do that video. I can't write scripts, boys and girls. I'm a terrible script writer. I've been trained as an article writer, and I write articles. So I've written an article about it, and then Adrian's going to make a script out of that. But we'll probably do an article as well then, because I've written the article. For the video. We'll do the video, and we'll be fair. It'll be objective. We'll go pro and against it, and I think that's right. No one wants to see a video about where I've written about a point-to-point's best thing ever. No one wants to read that, because they'll go, Chris, it's probably got challenges, and it would be very unfair not to note the challenges. So the fact that I found all these challenges in the script writing or the article draft writing, is probably a good thing, because it'll be a more balanced video that way. But I think it's an interesting subject, and I think it's really cool. And while SpaceX still have it on their website, it's still on their website, their Starship Over, which they've updated several times. It's not like they've left something from years ago online. They've updated it several times, and they still say Starship point-to-point is one of the viable options for it. So, while that's the case, we can talk about it, can't we? Anyway, Module 9. Module 9's been rising up the tower. Luckily, this is such a tall tower, we can take lots of questions, because we have all this time to cover while they slowly lift this Module 9 to the top of the tower. And we'll get very excited when it goes over the top and they start putting it down again, because that'll be topping off point. So we'll keep taking questions while we do that. By the way, I see people going, ads in chat. Yeah, you know what? I've been noticing YouTube have been getting a bit crazy with ads recently. It's not us. We don't say, place an ad every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes. We don't do it that way. We have a couple of ads in streams, because that's how all streams work. But the amount of ads means YouTube is putting their own in as well. So it's not just us. So apologise in advance. It is not our on purpose thing of putting ads in every 5 seconds or whatever it is. It's not every 5 seconds. I know it's not. But you know what I mean? So when you see ads, don't think it's us automatically doing it. Indie Sorcerer gifted 10 Red Team memberships. Really much appreciate your support. That is great. High reactivity asks one of the elephants in the room, which is IFT5 predictions. Let's go around with Alex first. When do you think IFT5 will launch? Sorry.
Early, middle September, essentially 3 or 4 weeks from now.
Ryan?
Was it the date I gave yesterday was the 26th of September? I'm going to stick with it for now.
I'm going to go with 4 weeks. I'll get more excited when we start seeing vehicles on Tower 1 on the orbital launch mount, Booster 12 rolled out, Ship 30 rolled out, and they start getting preparations for like wet dress rehearsals. If they're going to do a wet dress rehearsal, things like that. That's when I'll get excied.
Do you think they're going to be doing one?
There's a question then. Alex, do you think they'll do a wet dress rehearsal?
I think they're going to end up doing one just for the sake of, making sure that everything is ready to go. Because they have changed a bunch of stuff on the tank farm, for example. I see at least some kind of full stack test at the very least. If not, a complete wet dress. But we'll see.
My question, I guess, or thing to that is, why not do one? Right? They have the time. Once the stuff is done, once the mods are done to the chopsticks, I don't know what else they have planned. But like, if you're still waiting on trying to get approval for your catch, and maybe a few other things here and there, why not do a wet dress? It's not like there's no real downside to it. I mean, you do have to evacuate, close the road, do all that jazz, but you gather data and you have changed a few things, and there's really no reason not to do one.
Alex, question for you. Have you been to Starbase?
No, but I will. I have plans to go to the US next week. I'm going to be there. I'm not going to be at Starbase straight away, but I'm going to go for Flight 5. I'm going to be somewhere else first, but yeah.
Nice. Take lots of pictures, put them on X. Say, look, it's me at Starbase.
I
know all this stuff.
I'm going to see 2 towers.
You will? Yeah. I wondered if you're timing it for any kind of like. I don't think I don't think you're going to be there long enough for IFT 5 or Flight 5. I don't like calling it IFT now. Let's call it Flight 5, boys and girls. Let's go for Flight 5. Makes more sense. So Flight 5, but you might see some testing. You might see rollouts, things like that.
I'm going for Flight 5. Like,
what?
I, on purpose, booked flights about a month and a half ago. Essentially, like, right after I finished my first trip to the US, I was like, okay, let's start, booking flights and everything. That's the worst that one can do, by the way. But I have a bit of a budget there to be able to, modify the flights. And, if for whatever reason it happens to delay past my time in the US, I just can just delay the return, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was thinking if you go for a set amount of time, you know what it'll be like. It'll be like a week after. So if you got the ability to delay your return back to Spania, then fair enough. That's cool. Nicholas Burns gifted 5 memberships. The amount of support on the stream is bonkers. It's not like a massive stream. It's like 5,000 people. That's a lot, but it's not like a Starship launch stream where there's like 100,000 people in. So it's really, really cool the amount of support we're getting, which I really appreciate, especially with me babbling along most of the time. Niles, now I'm terrible at pronunciations, so maybe Ryan, do you want to have a go at this? I'm going to put it into the panel and put it on the screen because it's about the crane pronunciations. I am horrendous at pronunciations, so I don't even want to try this. Ryan, do you want to have a go at this?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm not the greatest at pronunciations either.
Alex, do you want to have a
go? It's not about the CC8. It's this. There is one R, so that means
it's Sarens.
I'll tell you what, I'll have a go then. Sarens is used to lift unbalanced structures. Sarens is a Belgian company. This is how we say Sarens. We need to plug you into the microphone. That'll be easier. There is one R in Sarens, so it means a loon A. If there is a double RR, it's a short A. We definitely need to plug you into a microphone to explain that one because I understand where you're going with that, but Niles, let's get you into a control room and plug you into a microphone. You can read that question out yourself, and everyone will be benefiting from the pronunciation of the Belgian company. There we go. Very good. Phillips Junks has gifted a Red Team membership. Flying Monkey Fun has gifted a Red Team membership. I really don't like reading out supers left, right, and centre because I know people get annoyed by it, but we get so much support, it's ridiculous. So I'm making sure I'm mixing it up with the questions. So apologise in advance if you think I'm getting a bit carried away with all that. It's just so much support. It's ridiculous, but also very much appreciated. By the way, Boost 1058 to Chris's Babble Fund. Yeah, very much appreciate that. That's what I do on these streams. I just babble along. Anna Makarov asks, will the road to the launch site be permanently closed to the public because of the daily launches? I like this question. So Highway 4 is the road that you can drive down from Brownsville all the way through to Starbase, you go past the production site, you drive past the launch site, and all the way to the beach. They have to close it for things like big rollouts and testing and what have you. I always thought in the early days that they may build another access road to the beach for the public, and then have Highway 4 all to themselves. Do we think that'll ever happen, Alex?
I don't think so. I don't even think that we're gonna see daily launches from Starbase. Hey, maybe I'm wrong, right? But based on how close it is to other population centers, it's a lot closer than, for example, the Cape to Titusville and other, cities and towns and things like that nearby. I think it's very unlikely that we'll see daily launches. They have already asked for 25 launches a year, right? And they said they're going to keep the same amount of rollout closure hours, because now, since they have a bunch of the testing, the pre-launch testing at Massey's, they're like, you know what? It compensates. We're asking for more launches, but we need less road closures now because we do the testing at Massey's. So we can essentially keep the same amount of road closure hours at the end of the year, right? And make up for that by testing and everything. But I don't think we're gonna reach to a point of daily launches out of here from Starbase. From 39A, they're asking for 44 launches, for example, and from 37, they're asking for 76, I believe. So in total, that's 145 across 3 launch pads. And so when you think about it, sure, maybe from a single launch pad, they may not have daily launches, but when you add up a lot of these launch pads, you get to a point where you're launching daily, essentially.
Yeah, but we'll close the roads off because there's a question about the road.
No. I don't.
Yeah,
all that was just to say, to add to the thing that I was saying, that I don't think it's going to happen.
They legally can't unless Texas changes their state laws. They cannot close access to Boca Chica Beach.
Yeah, but it's Elon.
And still, it is state of Texas. They can't legally close. They have to keep public access to the beach as part of Texas state law.
I can see it happening on a drone ship kind of thing, on a launch tower out there on the ocean. I don't know, but we'll see.
Hey, we're nearly there. Look at this. Module 9 is nearly at the top. Nearly there. It's this view we got right now. I don't know if I'm talking ahead because I'm watching the actual stream everyone else is watching, rather than watching I'm watching the actual live camera now. We have gone back to where we got the close-up view, but the extended view, the 2 towers, I am looking forward to that, where we get the actual topping off. Then we can see both of them, because we do have more questions. We keep getting questions about this. Taras asks, how is Tower 2 taller than Tower 1? And if so, how big is the radius within Tower 2 as the tallest building? Right, so let's just digest that one back into the differences between Tower 1 and Tower 2. I mean, looking from them wide views, do we think it'd be even noticeable there's any difference in height? They look very similar.
So, right? Yeah.
No, they look very similar.
1.5 meters is not a lot when you're talking about the height of a structure like this.
There's a lot of people expecting it to be like two sections taller. I keep seeing it.
Yeah, well, today we'll officially put that to bed. Officially. Because once this is stacked, it'll get bolted in. They are currently making their way up the tower, welding these sections together. Then they'll weld this one together, and as they weld them and everything, they fill the columns with concrete. and they'll do the same thing with the roof. So concrete will go right up to the top of the tower, and it'll all be welded together. It is not going to be any extra sections. There have been, the only time it was said was Elon said one thing. I could, man, if I had a nickel for every time Elon said something is actually going to happen, it never did. You know. So-
Easy. He'll have you off X. Durov, by the way, asks, will Tower 2 receive a complete cladding from bottom to top? Don't think so now. They seem to be anti-cladding, don't they now? They've actually taken cladding off 39A's FFS, which we thought would be fully clad. What am I thinking? They're definitely taking cladding off something. Remind me, Alex.
Yeah, from 39A, they took the cladding off. And the crew tower at 40 doesn't have cladding either. So it looks like... Because if you think about it, if you're adding cladding, that means you're protecting the tower, but then the cladding gets beaten out of shape and everything, right? So every few flights, you kind of have to replace the cladding, and it's like, well, if you have to replace the cladding, why not build the tower in the first place to not need it, right? If, best part is no part kind of mindset. And so I think we may see some of it, maybe towards the bottom, just because that's probably the part that gets the blunt of the Raptors, right? But maybe not all the way to the top, just like we see for Tower 1, where it's just like the very first level.
Oh, Ryan got something from the store. I like clicking on this button because when I click it, it gives me the question that's in the... Because when you buy something from the store while we're on a live stream, you can actually type in a question as well, or a message, which is really cool. Ryan's put the message, watching an RTLS many times, it's appropriate that I wear the shirt every time that I'm on Fleet Campsite, which is Space Coast Live, by the way. I'm 9-8 Central. That's the username of Ryan there. Love that. And well, thank you. That's a lovely message. You've got... This is the bonkers thing about support, right? It's a lovely message. You bought something from the store, and you've actually said something where you say thank you to NSF as well when you've actually got it, which is incredible support. I will never get bored or lack appreciation from that, especially someone who started this in the early days where we started from scratch to where we are now. The support will never get boring because it's the support over the years that has got us to where we are now, literally. And there's no like, Chris has just been nice. No, that is literally the case. I cannot stress it enough. And it's thanks to people like Bideford, who's gifted 10 Red Team memberships. Methane Man has gifted 20 Red Team memberships. I mean, he's a regular supporter who do it all the time. It's not like a one-off. Like, even if it was a one-off, it'd be like, wow, that's amazing. Thank you for your support. They do this all the time. And, you're going to break my brain, which is not hard to do these days. Foolproof Duck asks, if they successfully catch Booster 12, do you think they will reuse it, and for which flight? I like this question. It comes up often, not too often, but enough to where we can answer it, because I like this. Let's take the scenario. Booster 12's been caught. Wow, the chopsticks work. Well done, SpaceX. And it's intact. It's not gone boom. It's intact. Do we think the option's been... I'll start with Alex. The option's been to refly Booster 12, which I think is unlikely myself. Will they take the engines off and do some data testing with the flight-flown engines at McGregor with them? Or will they put it on display, like the first Falcon 9 landed, and they put it on display at Hawthorne? What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, this being one of those questions that gets sort of asked often. I've always said that whatever they do, I think there's going to be some testing involved. Also, obviously depends on the status of Booster 12 after that landing, right? I don't think it will do much if it lands in a very skewed way, if you know what I mean, right? If it doesn't land right, it's probably not going to be testable. But if it lands in one piece and it's good, I think they're going to be doing something at the very least. Maybe a cryo test. But it will be awesome if they went to, static fire, for example. When they landed the first Falcon 9 booster, about 3 weeks after, they put it back on the pad and they fired it up for about 3 or 4 seconds, and it was good. Like they essentially did that just to prove that they can just, look up at the stage, have a quick look at the hardware, and then put it back on the pad, fire it up. I think, again, if Booster 12 is good enough after that landing, if it actually is caught, obviously, it could be something that we could see here. Afterwards, I don't know. Maybe they take some of the Raptors and test it at McGregor or something like that. But we'll see. I do think that it will be awesome to see them trying.
As
at the very
as we
least, to
watch
fly.
Module 9 now being pivoted over. So that suggests they're at full height now. So the big extended tall crane has done its work as far as being able to lift the modules as high as they need to do. This is max height, I would suggest. This is max height of the crane with the module installations. And we see the work of this. Humans for scale. We see the workers on top. That must be a view and a half where they are right now, waiting for the module to come across, and they will guide it down. As we've seen with the other sections, but this is from the top of the tower now. This is literally the top of the tower as they rotate across. That's amazing. Right, and I've got a question up your street. MacGyver asks, will the flame trenches have a deluge system in them like the upside-down showerhead? So will we see what's worked very well, water deluge system from Tower 1, in any kind of guise in this bi-directional flame trench for Tower 2?
Yeah, it should have some kind of water deluge. The SpaceX learned the hard way that you definitely need a water deluge for a rocket of this size. NASA already knew that back in the 60s. As much as Elon didn't want a water deluge, we all saw how that went. Yeah, so it'll have one. It'll even have something on the pad deck. So basically, you're gonna have the full-on water on on whatever flame diverter they have down there, and on the pad deck itself. So it'll have it all.
Yeah, knowing SpaceX, that flame diverter is probably going to have water-cooled lines, just like the one at Massey's, the one at every Falcon 9 launch pad. They also have that. Also at McGregor on the launch sites, on the test sites, excuse me. So it's very likely to use a lot of water. They have actually said, if you have watched our video talking about the environmental assessment to increase to 25 launches per year, they talk about that water deluge even working as a sound suppression system, because for pad A, the water that you see, it does do a little bit of sound suppression, but the main goal of that is just to cool down the shower head, as the comment is saying, right? That plate, that steel plate, otherwise it just gets melted down, right? So you need that water to take away the heat from the plate to be able to work. And a very similar thing happens with every single other kind of, launch pad. As Ryan was saying, you kind of need a water deluge.
Very good. Gina G asks, why is the water table? What? Start again, Chris. Sorry. Put my teeth back in and start again. Right, here we go. Gina G asks, why is the water table level at Starbase no longer a hindrance to building a flame trench? I thought that was why Pad A didn't get one. I tell you one thing. While we take that question, remind me, didn't they spend like a year packing the ground at the launch site before they even started building on it? I remember something I think it was almost back in the days when they were going to launch Falcon 9s from there, that they had to do a lot of work on the ground, didn't they?
That was for the hangar for Falcon 9.
Yeah, they brought in a ton of dirt, and that's where that dirt mound was built into the suborbital site, which is now gone. That dirt mound is also gone. They basically took all that dirt away from the launch site. Some of it's next to the Starlink building, and some of it got carried out, I think. But basically, like, you look at Massey's, which it might actually even be, I actually don't know what the exact water table is there compared to what is at the launch site, but if you do the right construction practices, you can pretty much build in a lot of places. I think the main reason why they never did a flame trench here is because Elon didn't want one. They didn't want to do a flame trench. They wanted an orbital launch mount with no flame trench, no water deluge. They wanted to just be able to launch right against the concrete, and that's it. The thing is they didn't realize, well, they couldn't. That wasn't going to work. Maybe they did, and it was Elon pushing for it. But either way,
I actually picked this question and I added to the queue precisely because this is, the usual conversation that they didn't do that because of the water table. And a lot of people forget that 39A, for example, is also close to the water. It also has high the water table level is high and everything, they still have a flame trench, and the whole deal with that is because it's elevated, right? So you have an elevated structure, and then you can create that flame trench. The same thing happens with the OLM. The OLM at pad A is 20 meters tall. You can essentially build the same kind of thinking, right? Where you build an elevated structure, and that's where you have your flame trench. 20 meters is actually about the same as the one at 39A. It's about 20 meters as well. So it's all down to just them not wanting to create a flame trench in the first place. It's not that they cannot build it. They actually did a lot of foundation work, Ryan, right? When they built the water deluge plate into it, they reinforced a lot of that concrete, a lot of that foundation. And they went very deep. I think it was like 30 or 40 meters down. So,
Well, the main pilings went 20 to 30 meters down.
yeah.
They dug out around 4 meters, and then built up basically a lattice of rebar, and then filled that in for the foundation, which tied into the pilings that they put in. Because when they originally built the pad, they had the main legs, and that's really all the pilings that I remember off the top of my head. After the launch, they installed like 130 some odd pilings in and around the entire area. So some larger, some smaller. They tied the main foundation of the OLM plus the plate into the larger pilings, and then they built a large pile cap, which tied into all the other pilings they built around there, and they built an actual proper pile cap plus foundation, because they didn't have that before. They didn't have a really... I wouldn't even call it a foundation. It was kind of a joke of what they built at the OLM. I don't know how they ever thought that was ever going to work.
Looking
truly,
at this
it
now,
is, it's kind of funny the way what they built, and they thought that would work. I laugh every time I go back and look at it. I just kind of laugh at it.
we're nearly level over the top of the tower now. Module 9 is almost over where it needs to be lowered for installation, which is a big milestone now. So we're getting very close to the view we want, the 2-tower view, where we'll see both of the towers pretty much complete as far as the actual tower structures go. Remember, there's still a caveat. We're still waiting for all the bits and bobs like the chopsticks and what have you to be installed. The ship quick disconnect. There's not even a ship quick disconnect on the 39A tower that's been built and constructed for how long now? A long time, and they've actually stopped working on the tower for a while now. So it does have its chopsticks, by the way, 39A. But here we go. This is the view I want to see, where I'm actually behind time because I'm not looking at the right screen. But we've got the 2 towers. We just saw it then, the 2-tower view, which is going to be very interesting to see when they actually then take the crane off. A lot of people in chat are asking the question about the crane. How long is the crane going to be on site for?
Let's see here. The documentation for the crane said January of 2025. So at least for because when you have a crane of this size, you need to have it documented with the FAA that you have something this tall, to let people know there's something this tall around, so you don't, run into it with an airplane. So the documentation says around January of 2025. So, and yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be another reconfiguration between this and that. So we think, or at least I think, that it's probably going to be to help, installing the chopsticks, putting whatever new design QD arm they're going to be installing here. We'll see.
And again, we've had a lot of questions we've had a lot of people come in since we started the stream, so I don't mind going back to previous questions we might have covered, but we can just cover them quite shortly while I watch this part. Taurus asks, how much do you think the launch pad for Tower 2 will serve as a template for future Starship launch pads? Do we think SpaceX has the window of time to build a really optimized launch pad?
It's probably going to be, more iterations of this. Like, I don't think this is like the ultimate Starship launchpad, especially now that they're actually having a flame trench, right? That's probably gonna be their first time having Starship in a flame trench. duo. So they're going to learn a lot of things, and that's going to go into many future launch pads. That's for sure.
We need Carson on a microphone because he comes up with some funny things in the back room. He goes, Tower Block 3. Version 3 of the tower has been tested in McGregor, ready for installation around launch sites around the world. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what Space has got cooking because, let's face it, remember the plans for, what was it, LC-49? We heard from the KSC guys that LC-49, which is now on the back burner because they couldn't get the environmental stuff done, was 6 towers. 2 sets of 3. Now imagine that, boys and girls. 6 towers in one area for Starship. that is a sign of the future. Now, if that was the plan, and technically could still be the plan for the future, then it shows you where we're going with this rocket. We're talking about the rapid reusability. I'm looking forward to stuff like that. I really am.
I love this view.
Oh yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm looking at the right camera. There we go. That is a great... you know what I do? I look at the YouTube stream like everybody else. I forget to look at the actual live view we've got for the commentary. And that's where I sometimes talk about things which are not actually showing at the same time, which I need to learn to do. But I can't move my head around too much, otherwise I will be not talking into my microphone, which would be very silly. Fender asks, if we have a month to wait for IFT5, let's call it Flight 5, everyone, please. Anyone think Block 2 version and Raptor 3 on ship and booster will be shaped in while the paperwork is worked on? Now, I think Fender is asking about the preparations for the future vehicles. I know Ryan's a big fan of the new version of ship. There's a new version of ship we're seeing the sections for, the fancy nose cone with its flaps in different areas. Is that going to be for Raptor 3 engines already? Or will it still be flying with Raptor 2s, Ryan?
I doubt they'll do Raptor 3 right away. I think Raptor 3 will be... It could be in the later 30s on the ship. I think the first couple of Block 2s will still be R2 as they work out Raptor 3, figure it out. Because, as much as you want to introduce Raptor 3 as quick as you want to, you might as well throw it on the test stand and literally improve it as much as you can on the test stand before putting it on a ship. Because it's not like you're going from Raptor 1, 1.5, or whatever you want to call it, to Raptor 2, where they couldn't do any kind of orbital flight tests with Raptor 1. That was just not possible. They needed R2 to get to space. And they don't need R3 to get to space right now. They have R2. So you might as well keep using R2, get all the kinks worked out with R3, and then put it on a vehicle. They probably already have a vehicle number slated for R3 down the line. I wouldn't be surprised at that. My guess will be the first Block 2 booster will get it. Whenever that Block 2 booster is, that's going to be probably the booster that first launches off this pad. But ship, I don't know. I don't know which ship is going to get that. I doubt it's 33 or 34, though.
Yeah, it's too soon, isn't it? The more you talk, the more I realised I shouldn't even bother asking if there's going to be a Raptor 3 on that new version yet, because Raptor 3 has just started testing. By the way, McGregor Live, which is MGL. Let's do it in chat. Hang on 1 second. Let me try and multitask, which is never fun for me. All right, that is our McGregor Live, and that is where you can see Raptor 3 being tested.
There's a Raptor burning right now.
Is it really? Oh, there we go. That's good timing. But we have seen Raptor 3. We have seen Raptor 3 firing up. We have seen it firing up, and yeah, it was confirmed by SpaceX. They did a little close-up video, but it was kind of cool that we saw it live. And because we knew the test stand had been changed, we knew it was Raptor 3. And then it was just confirmed. Because a lot of people in the replies was like, how do you know it's Raptor 3? How do you know? And then SpaceX did a tweet about 3 hours later. Yay! There we go.
There's a bunch of hints because of the operations that they do. When they stop working or when they stop doing tests from a certain stand for 2 weeks, it's like, yeah, that kind of looks like they're doing some stuff there. And I will actually disagree with Ryan in that it's going to take a long time. I think it might actually be Ship 33, the one that we see the first Raptor 3s.
Ooh.
And the reason for that is because there's fundamental changes in the way that it is installed on both on a test stand and on a vehicle. And the test stand that they have already used for Raptor 3, we believe it's actually probably already completely, for Raptor 3, which means they cannot test Raptor 2s on that test stand because it's not compatible, right? Or you will need to essentially redo it again and modify it to then go back to Raptor 2. So I think there's a good chance that we see it on ships first, especially because Ship 33, by the time it may get engines, that might be 3-4 months down the line, perhaps towards the end of this year. That's going to be a bunch of months where they're going to be able to test Raptor 3, and there's a lot fewer engines on the ships, right? And we expect boosters of version 2 to come a lot later down the line. By then, they'll probably have even flight data of version 3. And also, especially given the thrust numbers that we have seen from SpaceX, it looks like for version 2, they're gonna have whatever engine they have. If it's a Raptor 3, it's gonna be at very low throttle settings. So it's probably gonna go easy with it, and they're gonna be going, not going for the full envelope and the full performance of the Raptor 3. So I think there's a chance that Ship 33 is gonna be the first one. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not impossible. Though what we'll probably see on Block 2 at the start will be, my guess it would be Raptor 3 centers and then R2 vacs. I don't know if they'll have the R3 vac sorted out yet. We might get like a crossover until for the first few, but we'll see.
We're lining up now. Look at this. We're watching actually, literally, they're pushing the section. The crane is doing all the work, obviously, but they are literally also helping it. You can see the worker on the right there, the middle right, just like to the right. He's literally got hold of... What are those bags called, Ryan? Do you know what the bags are called?
Those
do you know?
Those might... No, but they might be holding hardware. I might actually be holding the bolts or anything. I don't know. So that the bolts are with it, so they don't have to carry them back up. But it might be the bags for the hardware.
Really? I thought they were literally like ballast bags.
No, I think they're holding the bolts. So when they lower it down, they literally just have to reach in the bag and grab the bolts out and put it in.
Look at chat. Chat, yeah. Bolt bags, tool bags.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, so I've been watching this tower being constructed, and obviously I was missing chat while they were talking about it. They're bolt bags. I thought they were ballast bags, just to kind of like keep everything nice and stable during the lift and during these small refinements of leveling up. But that just shows I'm an idiot, which is we all knew already. There we go. Bolt bags. Cool, very cool. I want to quickly, because I don't want to ignore support. It's very important we don't ignore support. I'm doing as many just random questions from chat. It could be the first time you've been in this stream. You're all very much valued. So if you ask a question, you might be first time in here. There's a very good chance I'll ask it because I just see the questions I like and I'll read them out because they're interesting questions. But we also get support, and I want to mention support here. 98 Central, who actually was in store message earlier from Ryan, because I recognise the username, gifted Red Team membership. Simon the Mac has gifted 10 Red Team memberships. Paul Typo Dice Dawson, that's his username. Will Tower 2 have the water bag weight testing as Tower 1 did? Thanks, guys, as always. We're talking about the water bags we saw on the chopsticks, which caused much amusement from the visuals they caused. Do we think we'll see any kind of like bag system being used on Tower 2?
They'll probably test the chopsticks in the same way, load test them.
Oh,
Either
no.
they'll use the bag system or they'll use a different system, but they'll need to load test it one way or the other.
We have a
once
very
it's installed
civilized.
and done.
We have a very civilized chat. To the point our moderators don't have to do much work at all. Our community is amazing. But when those bags were installed on the chopsticks, my goodness me, everyone turned into 5-year-olds. So, yeah, let's hopefully have some brevity of civility while we do that test in the game with Tower 2, please. Everyone in advance, thank you very much.
We're all still children at heart, Chris. Remember that.
Yeah, I'm too old now. I'm the old man with a stick. I'm the old man on the yard, then stick going, get off my lawn. There we go. Boost 1058's back again. Gift a Red Team membership. As always, 1058. Seriously, you do so much support. You do not have to do all this support, Boost 1058. You've done your bit. Seriously, that sounds terrible for someone who's trying to, make sure we're all like, everything's working and supported and we can afford things. But seriously, the support where you tell people that's too much support. 1058, you've done too much. Thank you very much. JC Davis asks, after what they did with Ship 15 or SM15, I don't have good hopes for Booster 12 if it's caught intact. I really hope to see it land though. Well, yeah, the catch is we're not looking the objective of Flight 5 is not to have Booster 12 back to a configuration where it can be reflown. That is not the objective of reflying it. The objective is testing the return RTLS to the launch tower and caught by the sticks. That is the objective. Everything after that is a bonus. Correct, Alex?
Yeah. That was short, right?
It was. It was. you caught me out. I was taking a little drink and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. Alex
I
with
really
a
don't
one-word
have
answer,
anything else
never.
to. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. So.
Also, Tim H asks about Booster 12. I mean, obviously, Booster 12 is the next flight, so that's why people are asking about it. If Booster 12 is caught and the orbital launch mount clamps are damaged, as it happens every flight, transport stand essentially, where will they put Booster 12 after catch? So, let's say they've caught it and they can't really reinstall it on the orbital launch mount. Can they just take it straight to the transporter stand, maybe? Can they hold it in the chopsticks and wait for the transporter stand to arrive? Because that's going to be a journey, because it won't be at the... Will it be there? I don't know.
They can. Plus, they can't put it right back on the OLM anyways. When for launch, they remove the alignment pins.
Yeah.
They would have to reinstall the alignment pins and then put the booster back on. So the booster would just be hanging there. So you need to put it... It has to go on a transport stand. It has to.
Very good.
So it's about the only place they can put it.
You know what? That is interesting, because honestly, I've seen... You see people who've done very good CGI videos of the return, and they show it being put back on the orbital launch mount after they've caught it every single time. I've seen the videos. So what we'll see it caught by the chopsticks, hopefully, and then not go back to the orbital launch mount. He'll then get put straight to a transport stand, correct?
For this OLM, yes. For the later ones, my guess is they will have solved the problem of the fact that they have to take them off every flight, otherwise they're going to damage and scorch them. So there's a lot of issues that the current OLM has that the new one should solve, which is one of them is being able to put a booster back on the pad right after a launch. But as of right now with this pad, it won't be able to do it. Yeah.
Very good. This is the slower part now. I wonder... It's pretty close, Carson. It's pretty close to being downish. It's inches, isn't it? Let's face it. It's inches to go. Can we have a nice little run through all our camera views? I'm sorry I'm challenging you, Carson, but a run through our camera views, because I fancy doing a little clip video and I put it on X. So we could say, look, Tower 2s, they're both now in the same kind of like configuration as each other. So if we could go around the houses and go around the views, and I will go back and rewind the VHS tape, because that's how it works, boys and girls. We rewind the VHS tape, and I'll do a little clip and put it on X, and go, look, 2 towers. So we're close now, aren't we? Here we go. Yes, we're definitely doing a nice little routine through our cameras. All these cameras, thanks to your support. I'm not even joking. That sounds like a terrible little segue to mentioning support. It's true, though. It really is true. I can't get it across enough. People go, oh yeah, it just goes into like a slush fund. No, we spent so much money on this stuff. You wouldn't believe. Todd Harris gifted did a super chat. Tower for V3 obviously needs to be taller. Can they add sections to the existing towers, or do they need concrete force to start over? Ryan?
It doesn't need to be taller, in theory. With the fact that they lowered the lift points, they should be able to stretch the ship even more, and still be able to lift it before the chopsticks hit the top of the tower. So it'll look weird. It'll look really weird because the ship will the stack might be taller than the tower itself. Which I mean, I wish the tower was taller, but at this rate, it's not going to be, because in order to make it taller, you'd have to go with a plasma cutter and cut a section off. You'd have to destroy the concrete on the inside and then lift the section off. And that's not even before having to completely disconnect all of the chopstick cabling and everything and then lift the thing off. Disconnecting like the elevator. There's so many things you'd have to unhook. It's just not feasible to really do it. So, yeah, it won't be.
Lots. I'm just reading through the question panel. There's so many. Why is it not 2 sections taller? I've also got people confused by VHS. Let's find one. Joe M asks, "Do kids today know what VHS is?" Back in my day, when we got movies, when they came out in the cinema, you go to the cinema, watch the movie at the cinema. Then about 6 months later, it'd come out on tape, and you go to Blockbuster and you say, "Can I rent Rocky 2, please, for a night?" And you'd hand your money over, you take your tape, you go watch it on your VHS player at home, and you take it back next day. That's how we did it back in the day. There was no streaming services, there was no Netflix. And it was a lot more fun, I'll tell you that much. You have to rewind the tape before you took it back. Be kind, rewind. Yes, and they've got the Betamax fan club in. It's like Betamax fan club's like the Chip 26 fan club as far as I'm concerned. There we go. VHS rules. Music Duck asks, for explanation of the earlier how to pronounce Sarens. AR is pronounced as in R. And ARR is pronounced as R. See, it doesn't help when I speak it. I'm going to put it into chat. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it into the panel so you can see it come up on the ticker. There we go. So everyone can benefit from that. Right. Musical Wolves does a super chat from the tower. It was a hop. There we go. Boost 1058 is back in rebellion of my "you've done enough support as it is" by saying, "I just want to support everything you did." Well, thank you, Boost 1058. That means a lot. Rough Riders crew, Gage is in with Gary the fan club. See, when we get birds on cameras, we all go, "There's a bird in the camera, let's try and shake it off." Gage goes, "Oh, bird in the camera, cool." No, we don't like birds in the camera because they tend to poop. And that's never fun. Over the lens. Babu the Oscillator asks, "Do we think they will test the chopstick landing rails by lifting booster 12 when they put it on the pad?" Oh, now we've had B14.1 out there, the little short test tank for the slap tests. Do we think they'll do anything testing-wise with the flight booster, Ryan? Because that's where it gets a bit risky. We don't want to damage the flight booster.
No, I don't think there's any reason to. They've already done the testing they need to do. There really wouldn't be any reason to test the landing rails on the booster on booster 12 because, well, the booster's 12 is the same design as booster 14.1 in terms of the lift points and everything else. So there would be no reason to do it with booster 12.
Right. Now, GeoHound asks, will the new orbital launch mount be lower than the current one to allow for V2 boosters? Now, you can both go long answers to this, because I'm going to do some bandicamming, right? So you can go to town on this one, right? Here we go. Put in the thing. Ryan, you start.
First.
Oh, Alex, you start. Alex, start.
I'm gonna be contrarian to the majority of the opinion that it's gonna be lower. I think it's just gonna be the same height, and with the extra digging of the flame trench and everything, because the flame trench is obvious that it's gonna be elevated, right? That's what we all expect. But there's also gonna be some digging. So at the end of the day, the room that they're gonna have to build, some kind of diverter and everything, it's gonna be more than what they have with the current OLM. So it's very easy to think, oh, it's going to be, lower. I think they're going to take the advantage of that, actually, and it's going to be the same height. Because with Raptor 3, especially when you have a much higher thrust, usually, you want that longer separation. The whole of the flame of the rocket is even longer than the rocket. When you see it fly, right, that plume is like, I don't know, like 300 meters long or something like that. You're going to have a much powerful rocket engine with more engines, because now it's going to have 35 at the end of the day, right? Once they do all of the upgrades and everything. It's going to be a lot more powerful. It kind of makes sense to just take advantage and build it at the same height and dig down. And so you have a deeper, separation between whatever it touches on the bottom. And then you have the engines. And also, that flame trench is going to be, the diverter. It's going to have a portion that it's going to be elevated. That's going to be close to the engines. So you kind of need also the extra space as well there. I think it's going to be the same height, but others think differently. I don't know. We'll see when we actually see it built. We'll see.
Maybe. That's my answer.
No, keep going,
Probably
Ryan.
not.
I'm still recording.
Maybe, probably not. Who knows? There you go.
Yeah. I think the whole reason why it's not needed to be taller, and we've talked about that just now for the chopsticks, but also there's a QD, right? The quick disconnect arm. At the end of the day, what you need for the arm, it doesn't matter as much for where it is in terms of the height on the tower, but more that it just pulls away from the rocket. At the end of the day, the thing that connects to the rocket, it's at the end of the arm. So you just can build an extension that goes up, for example, on the arm, at the end of the arm, and it connects to the ship. So when the booster is taller and the ship is enlarged and everything, you can solve the chopsticks problem by lowering the lift points, as Ryan explained a few minutes ago. But also, the ship quick disconnect arm doesn't need to be higher on the tower. At the end of the day, you can just put some kind of extension that goes up and adapts to that at the end of the arm. I don't think it's going to be a showstopper to have similar tower height for different configurations of Starship. At the end of the day, if you think about it, when they build tankers and stretch versions and whatnot, there's going to be different versions of a Starship. So the pad needs to be able to allow for different versions of the ship. And so you cannot build a tower that is not able, like you have to reconfigure the tower or something like that for every, it will be just like Falcon right now. When you have to launch a Falcon Heavy, they need 3 weeks to reconfigure the T and everything. Like, it just seems so contrarian to what Starship is all about, which is rapid reusability and whatnot. I don't know. It's whatever.
I got my X-Purse done. I've just put it into chat. I've just put it into chat as well because a lot of you might be like, "Oh, we can rewind this stream." To be fair, so you can look back. But if you want to go and show your friends and family, your work colleagues, what you're a big fan of, you go, hey, I'm a big fan of rockets and stuff, and they'll go, "Yeah, we know." You go on about it enough. Show them clips of this because I think this is kind of like a crossover thing. This is more like construction, so this might work to people. We've all got friends. You're not your best friends who aren't into rockets. They're just like associates, people you know. they're not your best friends because they're not into rockets, but they may be like into stuff like big construction of massive towers. That might be their little gateway into rockets. I've found that, I've shown friends who are into shuttle and things like that, different things like the VAB. And they've gone, oh, that's an impressive building. And that's your kind of like little gateway into talking about the rockets and stuff. And you spread the word of rockets to your friends and family. It's a good thing to do. So you can show them little clips. I find my clips on X, a little teaser, little bite-sized chunks of rocketry, I would say. They're not going to sit through a 2-hour live stream, because they're not into this sort of thing. But they might watch a 30-second clip. So that's what I would say use X for. It's kind of a little thing. You can just pass it on. You can send a link and say, hey, this tower thing is really cool. Seen this clip? So that's a little trick for you there to try and get more people into rockets. Because let's face it, more people, more better. John Earhart asks, do you think that the booster will cancel out the swaying after catch via the RCS? Ooh.
No.
So, right. Yeah.
The arms and the booster together will just cancel it out. Because as soon as the arms come in, hit the booster, catch it, stabilizers go in and everything, just the sheer mass of the booster, it'll kind of cancel each other out in some ways. Just the mass alone. But yeah, the RCS isn't going to do anything on a vehicle that heavy that's not moving. Really. It's not, because at that point, you're not going to have a lot of tank pressure left either.
Nominal asks, how long until time lapse for the tower erection? Right, Elisar is in our back room right now talking about it. He goes, that's why we post time lapses for socials, so people don't have to watch 2 hours. We can do 60 seconds or less. So I assume Elisar is working on that very thing as we speak. Elisar is at our team. We got a big team with the socials, Facebook, X. I do a lot of the X stuff, but Elisar does a lot of Facebook stuff, and then Maritod does a lot of Facebook stuff. Threads, TikTok, oh my god, TikTok, yep, no dancing videos of me dancing for 30 seconds, it's actual just clips of what we do, and all our socials. They're a good little bite-sized chunks of coolness that you can pass on to friends and family as well. So the answer to the question is yes, that'll be in work. I'm sure it'll be today. Elisar, do you want to tell us when the time-lapse you think he'll have done for this Tower 2 topping off, shall we say? I'll wait for Elisar to answer. I'm sure Elisar is listening. because that was a question related to what I was talking about earlier. I assume it will be today, Elisa, won't it? You'll do a little clip for us. Elisa is typing. Bear with us, everyone. Live typing. 2 hours or less, Elisa says. There we go. There's the answer to your question. So that'll be coming up soon. A little time lapse of this rising of Module 9 atop of Tower 2 at Starbase. Who thought we'd be talking about this several years ago, about a second tower being finished? Because I think we've seen the CGI videos, didn't we, quite early, where they showed 2 towers with their fancy lights and what have you. How long ago was that video SpaceX put out? Can you remember?
2022.
2022, yeah.
Yep.
It's not bad if you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. We knew about it also because they put it that on paperwork like way back when, right? But Tower 2 was like some kind of several years down the line they'll do that and everything, right? But here we are several years down the line, it's already caught up, and second tower is almost built.
Well, it's gonna be a little bit before we get final touchdown because it looks like they are gonna lower all the diagonal, the cross members into the gusset plates.
Yeah.
They're gonna lower all those in, line them up, get a and then they'll lower the rest of it down. So it's gonna hang here for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll think of an endpoint for the actual live stream, but remember, the views will never stop live because we've got Starbase live, literally 24/7. So whatever happens, it'll only be the commentary that'll stop. But we'll think about it. We'll keep going for now because we've got more questions to go through. But yeah.
Yeah, I believe something similar happened at 39A where they lifted the 9th section with those cross beams, those diagonal beams, dangling sort of like that. Not fully dangling, but you know what I mean, right? That they needed to connect those.
See, that's the view you see on Starbase Live right now on the left-hand side there. That was quite cool. Well done, Carson. I didn't realise you could do that. Split screen with the multi-screen of Starbase Live with the live commentary stream, which we're showing with a single camera view there. There we go. Cool. So yeah,
That's why I have both open.
Well, that's a trick, you can do that. I mean, it doesn't work if people on phones and stuff, but if you're on a browser, on a desktop or something like that, you can technically have both. You can have all. I tell you what I've got on my browser right now. I've got Starbase Live, I've got McGregor Live, I've got Space Coast Live, and I've got this stream live as well on my browser windows. So you can have all of them. You could literally just mute the volume on one of them you don't want to listen to. Either my voice you don't want to listen to, you can mute me. I'd completely understand, by the way. Or you could have Starbase Live muted and watching like 4 screens on there. So you've got the best of both worlds. Either ways, it's quite fun. Speaking of streams, Joe Pimple asks, any plans to have Elon as a guest on the Flame Trench at SF Live? He's a busy man. I don't know. I tell you what I'd love. And Gwen Shotwell. I would love Gwen Shotwell or Gerst, something like that. Because you could get really, really technical and probably have different answers to what Elon's already done, like Tim's tour and what have you. So,
Kathy.
Or Kathy Luders. And also, with the likes of Gerst and Kathy Luders, you can go into the shuttle. You could go into shuttle history, but you could also go into the NASA thing. You could really go deep with Artemis, which Elon really couldn't really do. Let's face it, Elon would not want to go too deep on Artemis because the NASA contract and what have you, but Kathy Luders and Gerst would. And then Miss Shotwell would be amazing just because Miss Shotwell's been through it all with the launch business thing. That's more our kind of thing. So I would, yes, of course we'd have Elon. We wouldn't say no Elon. We'd rather have Gwen Shotwell on. Sorry, thanks for offering Elon, but we'd rather have Gwen on. That'd be rude. Yeah, we'd have both on. Let's put it that way. We'd go for both. But that's where you can go deeper, I think. So, I mean, the thing with Gwen Shotwell is Gwen Shotwell tends to do the TED Talk, kind of like one-on-one interviews. That's Gwen's thing. I've never really seen Gwen on a live stream. Like, one of our live streams, or like the off nominal. I've never seen her on something like that. So that might be not her thing. But yeah, of course we would. I'd love Lars Blackmore on. Lars Blackmore.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing. And he follows on X, and I've spoken to him. He's a great guy. He's English. He'd be amazing to talk about landing stuff. So the answer to the question is yes, but also other options as well, please. That'd be nice. If you're listening to SpaceX, please, can we have one of those people? Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to have also like other higher ups at SpaceX. Like you've probably seen it very lately that they're very active on X. John Edwards and Kiko Donchev. They're really good guys. When they talk about their stuff about Falcon and Starship and things like that. I think those will be also amazing to have as well, because lots of technical questions, especially in my case. I would love to be able to know about all of the little details
Yeah.
that they can talk about.
Yeah, those two names are great. James Gleason, SpaceX Communications. If you're listening, can we have one of those, please?
He
Can
follows
we?
me on Twitter, so
Yeah. Please,
Well,
can we have one of
X.
those people? X, yeah, oh God, you've ruined it, Alex. You've said Twitter. Oh no.
There we go. We blew it.
We blew it. James was replying, yes. Oh, he said Twitter, too late. This is the point where it's coming down very slowly. So we're just going to do some more final questions, then we'll work out when we're going to stop the commentary part, because otherwise we'll be here for 8 hours, and you don't want that. And my brain will literally turn to mush by then, so there's no chance of me doing that. I want to thank some more people. LS4222, that's the username, has become a Capcom member. That means you will have access not only to all our membership content in the YouTube channel, but you'll also get, within an hour, I think it integrates, it's automatically integrated between YouTube and Discord. Within an hour, you'll be in our member Discord. And our member Discord is where I spend too much time, and I will say that, too much time, because it's a lot of fun. It's got everything, all the rockets, all the companies, but it's also got off-topic subjects like sports ball, where I go on about why I lost my voice yesterday at the football. So, sorry, soccer.
I saw that.
Yes, there we go. So it's a very good community. Our community is great because you see our chat. The chat is always very friendly and fun. Our Discord is very much like that. And I would always say, the community makes it, and it really does, because the community is awesome. So anyway, let me press the green button so you can see your name come up in the ticker. Bideford's back with a big super chat, by the way. Thank you, Bideford. You don't have to do a super chat. Well, I'll read the questions out. Is NSF going to follow Polaris Dawn as much as possible on their 6 days? Yes, is the answer to that. We are going to go big time. I think we've got a preview article coming out today or tomorrow. We've got the big launch article coming out for launch day itself. We'll have a big live stream for the launch day. We'll start very early because it's a crewed launch anyway, but it's also a very historic mission. We'll have lots of coverage throughout, and then obviously we'll just follow the mission because it's going to be such an historic thing. Really, it's not just the EVA, the first private commercial EVA, but also the altitude of this mission. It's the furthest humans have been since Apollo. So it's going to be a massive thing, and the views will be amazing as well. So we are very much looking forward to it, and we will do as much coverage as is possible, as is viable for Polaris, because it'd be so much fun. Different. Is Ship 26 going to be scrapped? Yes. Tagger, I don't need to brief anyone on that. I just think Ship 26 is being. I
think it was Ryan who added that. Ryan Caton.
Did he? Yeah, I'm about to say, why would I add that to the question queue? Ryan Caton, I didn't answer the question queue. How naughty. Tagger asks, is this now the tallest structure in Texas?
No, not even close.
What is the tallest structure in Texas?
Tallest structure in Texas is the JP Morgan Chase Tower at 1,002 feet. This thing's like 450, 460. This is like less than half the height of the tallest building in Texas.
It's probably not
It
even
doesn't
the
even-
tallest in the RGV, right? In the Rio Grande Valley.
I don't know what the tallest in RGV is, but it doesn't even make the top. It didn't even make at least the top 33 in Texas. So
yeah,
no,
there are a lot of.
it's not the tallest in
skyscrapers.
Texas.
Yeah.
I can't ignore this question. I can't ignore it. Robert Stryker asks, military could use point-to-point for troop transport with Vandy being military. Oh. Now, let's take away the troop transport. Humans on Starship is a long way off yet. And that's not us being pessimistic. That is what Elon has said. The most optimistic person at SpaceX has said. That they will need hundreds, I think he said thousands, that's probably exaggeration, but a lot of launches before they start putting crews on these things. And again, Polaris, we're talking about that, that's meant to be the first crewed launch Starship. And that is a while off, but that's fine. We're going to wait. That's not what Starship's about to start with. It's about the capability and about shaking out the technology, because it's a big, big deal, this rocket. But the US Air Force has said they are very interested in point-to-point for cargo around the world. Now, it becomes a lot more expensive than putting in the back of a C-17, let's face it. But at the same time, the US Air Force is not immune from putting out big contracts because they like doing that. So there's a potential there that point-to-point may be used in that capacity in a very small way because, again, the logistics of the cost and the technology is something that they'd have to do very, very carefully to start with. But I'm going to leak part of my script is I think that point-to-point will come into its own when we start seeing Mars bases, maybe, because the restrictions, a lot of the restrictions that we see with point-to-point on Earth would be mitigated by doing it on Mars. So I think there's a potential there where point-to-point may be seen on Earth, but in a very, very small way to shake out the technology and then something that becomes in its own in Mars, because that would be a very easy way of moving stuff around Mars with point-to-point starships. That's my personal thought. Thank you much. Yeah, any thoughts? Yeah, because I bang on about point-to-point, and I do like opinions on this one. So Ryan, what do you think?
If you're gonna do troop transport to a specific location, you're trying to get troops in real quickly, you need to develop something like the single occupant exo-atmospheric insertion vehicle from Halo, like the drop pods. Like you launch Starship into space with people on board, and then you drop pod them in like ODSTs, orbital drop shock troopers. If that's what you're really looking for to transfer troops to a location quickly. You land the Starship, and then how do you quickly get them off? You can, no.
We've got Daz in our back room talking about tall buildings in Texas. I think the closest large building is in Corpus Christi, one shoreline Plaza South Tower, which is 411 feet tall. Ooh, I'm going to have to Google that after this stream. San Antonio has a hotel that's taller.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not the tallest. It's a very impressive structure, let's face it, but it's not the tallest in Texas. And that doesn't surprise me because everything in Texas is bigger, as they keep telling me. So there we go. I'll tell you one thing. We've had so many questions. We've gone through as many as possible. We kept going. We really are at the small part now. The small part. The part where it just takes forever because they're taking it down in very, very small amounts as they line and install. But we've got the long distance views now of what we'll see. There's very little difference between where it is now and where it'll be completely attached to on the long distance view. So I think what we'll do is I'll first of all thank Andy who's become a Pad Red member. Thank you, Andy, for that. It's great support. But also we'll come to the end of this commentary stream now, but we'll keep showing these live views, obviously on Starbase Live, because that's 24/7. And it'll have multiple camera views, and we'll keep moving the cameras around, and we'll keep showing all the views. The only thing you'll lose is the commentary. But there we go. That's a shot I wanted, Carson. Thank you. That is a shot. We now have two towers at their full height at Starbase. So that is an historic milestone. Oh, that's a great view there. That's an awesome view before there. And we've got the multi-view on Starbase Live, which we'll move to at the end of this commentary stream. Let me first of all thank who's been on with me, starting with Alex. Thank you, Alex.
It's my pleasure. And, one last thing that I will say in this view that we're seeing right now, you can spot the difference in how the OLM and tower are going to be located on the second pad relative to the first one, because you can see they are rotated about 90 degrees from each other. So we're going to have that, upcoming flame trench / orbital launch mount right front and center for pad B. So it's going to be interesting to see it.
Indeed. As Chris G would say. Indeed. Also, thank you to Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
It's my pleasure as always, Chris. Always love getting on here, talking Starship, hanging out with you guys. It's just always a lot of fun.
And big shout out to Carson in the back room, who's been producing the stream. Because you know what? When we're doing these streams, it's not me changing the camera views. God help you if it was. Because I'd be like, I'm all over the place. Carson has been putting out all the views for you. So we've been talking over the views. And thanks also to everyone in the chat. It's like not a massive stream with a lot of people in. Face it, 5,000 odd people in, which is a great attendance for what is basically a tower stacking. But that is an amazing level of support we've had in this stream for that amount of people. I've seen streams with 10 times that who don't get anything close to the support we get in different subject matters, in some good subject matters as well, like horse behaviour and things like that, where they just don't get that level of support. And I think our community is just awesome in that way. And I just want to quickly do a thanks one at the end because it just popped in. Terrapin Tom, I love the new format show with Dad calmly narrating the day's activities. I'm sure that's meant to be Daz, but that works. because he is the dad of SF as well. So there we go. So that is a nice little shout out to Daz for doing these narration over the dailies. It's not like a Starbase update. I'm babbling on now. It's not like a Starbase update, which is in-depth commentary of what we've seen during the week and what have you. It's just a daily video with the last day or so's footage. But rather than just showing it with ambient noise, Daz just talks a little bit over it. Just basically talks over it. Like, the things that are talking about in the lower third, we call it, where, this is the Star Factory, and this is where Ship 30 is currently being hosted and things like that. So it's a little bit of narration on the dailies. So we are asking for feedback on that one, so that's very nice for you to say. And I'm sure Daz is listening and hearing it as well. Anyway, enough of me rambling on. We'll go to Starbase Live now. We'll end the commentary stream on this stream, but Starbase Live will continue with all the views. So until the Raptor side at 2 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, that's the end of the commentary for now. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Say again, SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my God!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting the flare, correct?